In the headlines, flood wreaks havoc on 10 communities in Nasarawa, gradually subsiding in Kogi State. Atiku kick-starts presidential campaign in Uyo, promises restructuring. Tenant sells landlord to kidnappers for 1 million naira in Oshun. Away from Nigeria, Ukraine condemns Russia as terrorist state in UN meeting. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for joining. And now the details. No fewer than 5 local government areas of Nasarawa State have so far been submerged by flood. Trust TV's Abubakar Abdullahi reports that hundreds have been rendered homeless as a result of the disaster. His report is filed here in the studio.
The flood occurred as a result of torrential rain in different parts of the state. Communities most affected are Tunga, Rukubi, Umeisha, Loko, Dedere in Awe, Doma Toto, Nasarawa and Obi local government, Rukubi in Doma and part of Lafia among other local government areas of the state. Some of the victims narrated their ordeal to Trust TV.
Only God can save us from this kind of flood. We have never witnessed it in the manner of our history. It washed away our farm produce and houses worth millions of naira.
The water has exhausted our place, our crops, and so many things. Now there's no food for us, nothing.
Nasarawa State House of Assembly Speaker Ibrahim Balarabi Abdullahi, whose community is one of the affected areas, said the Assembly has passed a resolution calling on government to provide relief materials in order to bring succor to the victims.
State House of Assembly came up with a matter of urgent public importance, calling on the state government to, as a matter of urgency, come to the rescue of our people who are ravaged by floods. And this unfortunate incident did not only happen in Toto local government. It happened in Nasarawa local government, Doma local government, as well as Awe local government.
The speaker, who sympathized with victims, also donated relief materials to the victims in his constituency. On their part, the national and state emergency management agencies attributed the disaster to the release of water from the Labdo Dam without the knowledge of the state. They explained that though government cannot compensate the victims on the damages suffered, they are however willing to cushion the effect on them.
The agency cannot compensate people for traumatic experiences that they have suffered in the aftermath of the disaster. What the federal government does is to help people get back to their feet and restart their lives through relief interventions. May I at this juncture mention that the state should still expect the 2022 flood intervention. The agency is presently preparing the interventions.
In other words, all the village areas along the river Rhine, along this river Benue, have already been submerged. We are in the process of evacuation. We are in the process of trying to look for how to provide succor for those who are affected. That is the position that we are in now. And that is what we have been doing. As a matter of fact, even relief materials have already gotten to some of them.
The Nasarawa flood, according to the Executive Secretary of the Nasarawa State Emergency Management Agency, Zakaria Alumaga, has left 3 people dead. He also said 361,000 people were displaced by the flood in the state, while the federal and state governments have distributed different consumable and non-consumable items to the victims.
In a similar vein, flood in Yenagua local government area of Bayelsa State has swept away a 16-year-old boy into a deep canal in the community. It was gathered that the 16-year-old, who was with his friends, went swimming in the rising waters near the State Ecumenical Center at Igbo, Gene, but was overpowered by the surging water and thrown into the canal. Sources reveal that the body of the boy is still missing 2 days after the incident. Meanwhile, the floods in Lokoja, Kogi State are gradually subsiding, but the condition in the city is still quite dire. There are still large obstacles to vehicular movement and many stores remain shut. Several buildings are still underwater. Trust TV's Chamung Daben reports from Lokoja.
Some shops in the area have managed to survive the flood. Owners are counting their losses. For some people, the losses were few, while others weren't so lucky. Many had properties and goods destroyed in the flood, but the main problem now is low or no patronage at all, as many citizens are scared to venture out. This obviously will further slow down economic activity in the state.
I'm currently standing in what used to be a very dry road. Right now, the water is just about my shin level. And if you look behind me, the water only gets deeper. As you can see from the building, about half or more than half of the building has been submerged in water. So right now, the situation in this area, which is the ultra-modern market area, you can see some stores are now locked up. The owners of these shops are completely unable to access their shops to get their daily bread as they normally would. So although the water is actually drying up, the situation at hand is still quite bad.
And the situation was very worst. Even it crossed the road to this side. I have to move this thing back of this stone so that the water will not affect me. Things got increased. Like rice or yam, they buy before 1,000. They will be able, some will have that fear to even come to the market, whether they will cross the water or they will fall or something might happen to them.
Yeah, you felt that even some customers can able to pass and buy something and even enter some people's shop and even spot some load. And thank God for everything.
Honestly, it has so much affected us in many areas. One, the other shop you are seeing is my second shop. Everything with the fridge, generator, all is filled up with water over there. Even this place too, we have a lot of damages here. My own idea that the Kogi State government should kindly, if there's any means they can work towards this so that it will not occur again, because this thing has caused us a lot of damages.
Last 2012, I lost money. We are collect for cooperative to buy load, about 18,000 naira. The one way water knows will spoil it and will remain. This year again is about almost 50,000 naira again. And there are some generators where they are called don't enter water. I never know whether those ones have repaired, they will still work or they not go work again. We beg our governor, Alhaji Yaya Bello, to help us because we have family and without food, without work, we cannot do anything. So make it look into our matter.
The flood in Lokoja has not only come with a lift-off of dirt, but it has also brought much sorrow and distress to the residents of the state. And many of them are calling out to the government to provide some level of succor to their situation and to also take preventative measures to prevent a reoccurrence of this flood. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV, Kogi State.
And now on political matters, the People's Democratic Party PDP has flagged off its presidential campaign ahead of the 2023 election, and the flag off which took place at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium, Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. The PDP National Chairman, Iyota Ayu, handed the party's flag to the presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, who promised Nigerians better living conditions through prosperity and unity. The vice presidential candidate of the party, Ifeanyi Okowa, and Governor of Akwa Ibom State stressed that the party's drive to restructure and reposition the country for the good of all Nigerians.
We have inaugurated our campaign to rescue Nigeria. To rescue Nigeria from hunger, to rescue Nigeria from poverty, and also to bring back the unity that we require in this country. Nigeria, when tested, as somebody we know, we cannot afford to allow lieutenants leave because they will lead us to doom. So I thank the leadership of the party and all the party members for accepting to street. But I came here today to promise Nigerians that as we follow the train, as we take off, the faculty belt that we are ready. We promise Nigerians that as we follow this campaign today, we plan on hope. We plan on mission to restore Nigeria.
President Muhammadu Buhari says there is no alternative to the victory of the ruling All Progressives Congress in 2023. He said this during the inauguration of the APC Women Presidential Campaign Committee led by his wife Aisha at the banquet hall of the presidential villa in Abuja. During the meeting, he urged the APC to make inroads into the voting population of women and youth, considering their numbers in the 2015 and 2019 presidential elections. In attendance at the meeting were the APC presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima, as well as the party's national chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu. Now, officers of the Osun State Police Command have discovered the decomposing body of an aged landlord, Oladepo Asaolu, after about 4 days of disappearance. It was gathered that one of the tenants of Asaolu allegedly sold him to some kidnappers for 1 million naira. Asaolu was said to have been declared missing on October 5, 2022, after a motorcyclist came to his house in Ora Igbomina around 5 a.m. and took him to an unknown place. The deceased was said to have informed neighbors that the unknown bikeman was taking him to his farm before his corpse was found 4 days later in a bush. When contacted on the telephone, the police public relations officer in the state, Yemisi Opalola, confirmed the incident. Meanwhile, 4 of his abductors have been arrested. Now, 3 brothers have been arrested for robbery in the Ijebu-Ode area of Ogun State. Police public relations officer in the state disclosed this in a statement identifying the suspect as Hamid Jagbo, Idris Jagbo, Toby Jagbo, and Tosin Ogundeko. The 4th person, however, is their friend. It was gathered that their arrest followed a report lodged by Ijebu-Ode residents that some gunmen robbed a lottery agent of 90,000 naira in the Odi Olowo area of the town. According to the police spokesman, the robbery suspect also snatched a Bajaj motorcycle, but a police patrol team chased after them and arrested Ogundeko. He stated that the suspects confessed further that they were all based in Ekpe, but chose Ijebu-Ode as their area of operation. Items recovered from the suspected robbers include 1 cut-to-size locally made gun and 1 Bajaj motorcycle. Meanwhile, the Commissioner of Police, Larry Bankole, had ordered the immediate transfer of the suspects to the State Criminal Investigation Department for discreet investigation. The police commissioner also directed a massive manhunt for the fleeing members of the gang. The Daily Trust Foundation, in collaboration with MacArthur Foundation, has organized a 3-day media management and entrepreneurship workshop for senior editorial staff. The training is aimed at exposing the media executives to a variety of approaches in the field, aimed at improving efficiency, build capacity, and grow their organizations. Here's a report as packaged by Trust TV.
Speaking at the opening ceremony of the training in Abuja, Chairman Daily Trust Foundation Alhaji Bilia Bala said the program is aimed at meeting media needs, especially in the digital age.
We have carefully selected you. We've had hundreds of people that we at first shortlisted, and we have to keep on weeding so that we come up with a list that we believe will benefit more on this training.
According to Bala, the training is to expose media executives to the kinds of knowledge they must have to effectively fashion the way forward for their organizations.
Most of the time, the reporters are land editors. However, this training started to is also for senior journalists, like I said earlier, who we hope will be heading their organizations and make a success out of it.
Among the dignitaries present was the director of the Nigeria office of the MacArthur Foundation, who harped on the need for media practitioners to be actively involved in investigating and exposing acts of corruption in the country.
The focus of our program is to help Nigeria reduce corruption. So we reasoned that it is important for the media to be actively involved in the investigating of corruption cases, exposing of corruption, and putting the information out there.
Participants also shared their expectations.
Well, it's coming at the right time, if you ask me, and I say this because there's been a whole lot of happenings around, not just in the country, but around the world. We're talking about global economic meltdown, and when you look at media management and entrepreneurship, we're looking at a situation whereby, as media practitioners, we need to know the nitty-gritty of patriotism in our practice as information managers, knowing that we have a country to protect.
Others present at the occasion are Chairman Media Trust Group, Malam Kabiru Yusuf, Vice Chancellor Federal University Kashire Gombe, Professor Umar Pate, CEO Almac Media, Aliyu Akushile, Director Media Trust Group, Malam Manir Dan Ali, among others.
You're watching the news update on Trust Television. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at new harvest season expectations. Details of this and more after the break.
Coleman quality, Coleman durable, Coleman cable for any kind of project. Coleman be the come and see, Coleman be the Coleman won't light up your line. Coleman be the come and see, Coleman be the COLEMENA. Quality, durable, now come and be the Baba.
Welcome back. This is the news update on Trust Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Flood wreaks havoc on 10 communities in Nasarawa while gradually subsiding in Kogi State. Atiku kickstarts presidential campaign in Uyo, promises restructuring. Now, tax is one of the major sources of revenue for government at all levels. However, many Nigerians lack awareness on how tax remitted into the government coffers is used. Trust TV's Adamu Imam samples the views of some market people in Bauchi on benefits they derive from paying tax. The report.
The Federal Inland Revenue has continued to argue that Nigeria's tax penetration is still very low. Many taxpayers in the informal sector cannot argue with this because they may not even be aware that the levies they pay are designated as tax.
Look for a better task force that can do that for them.
You can see some signboard and billboard there showing that if you pay the tax, it pays. So that's only thing that I can't even see any project that is being done with any tax that they are collecting. Absolutely. But if they say they are doing it, we need to know or we need to see any sign.
Local government should come and collect. Some instead she comes and collect. But we will not see the thing that do with the money for the tax.
To make matters worse, these players in the informal sector of the economy says that there is no evidence that the monies collected from them is utilized for their benefit. Year in, year out, we keep on paying tax, although the amount we pay is not much. They, however, come and collect it from us. The sad part is that we don't know where and how the government spends this kind of money. But certainly, we pay tax. They normally come after 3 months to collect from the local government, but up till now, we don't know where or how the money is being utilized. On the other hand, but do players in the informal sector pay tax? The question can be answered from two angles. Experts say they usually pay and insist that what is collected is usually utilized for what it's meant for.
Payment of tax is a statutory obligation to all the citizens. You know, as a matter of fact, government is saddled with a responsibility of providing infrastructure development, security of life and property, provision of quality road, healthcare facility, waterborne, and so on. And so there are so many to mention. So those infrastructure is being used taxpayer money to provide this quality, these services. So whoever is paying tax, you know that what is paying, that is what the government is using to provide certain services. Not that notice is coming, but you cannot say direct benefit for paying tax because those services is being provided by the taxpayer money, so to say.
On the flip side, it could also be argued that at the state and local government level, those in the informal sector are often seen as not paying tax because value-added tax is often remitted to the federal government. However, the market people and artisans urge that government to be more open about taxation so as to avoid any ambiguity for the benefit of all. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
As the new harvest of farm produce begins, farmers in Jingir town of Bassa local government area of Plateau State have expressed worry over the falling price of grains in the market. The farmers say that if the price of grains fails to appreciate, they will sell at loss. Ado Musa has more.
These are farmers conveying their grains from various villages to Jingir town, where the market is located. But the cost of fertilizer during this year's farming is what is dashing the hopes of the farmers, as the prices of grains continue to fall. According to the farmers, during this year's farming season, they bought fertilizer between the rate of 25 to 30,000 naira. They lamented that, despite the increase in the price of fertilizer, a bag of maize in the market is presently selling between 13 to 14,000 naira, saying such price was not profitable. Abubakar Bako is one of the oldest farmers in Amo Mekatako village in the area, said this year farmers will sell their crops at loss due to the cost of the fertilizer if the price continues to go down. At the moment, if the price of the maize, for example, continues like the way it is in the market, farmers will continue to sell at a loss. Before now, if the fertilizer was costly, we bought a bag at 10,000 naira. But this year, it sold between 20 to 30,000 naira per bag. Corroborating the cry of the farmers, one of the dealers in the Jingir market, Abubakar Jingir, said, if the price of the grains, especially maize, is not increased, the farmers might be discouraged to cultivate next year because they won't get profit compared to the resources they have invested. Honestly, there is a problem. It is when farmers cultivate that we are able to buy the grain from them. But the issue of fertilizer this year has been a source of concern. It is their biggest challenge because it has been very expensive, and until government does something, everybody will continue to suffer. The farmers, however, said if the prices of the grains continue to decline in the market, many of them will not cultivate their farms next season due to the high cost of fertilizer. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
President Muhammadu Buhari was in Chad on Monday to attend inauguration of the General Muhammad Idris Deby into the head of the transition government and head of state to oversee the country's transition process. The Nigerian president, who is the current chairman of the Lake Chad Basin countries, held a bilateral meeting with the Chadian leader, where he congratulated him for earning the trust of majority of his people to head the transition process to full fruition. The president equally congratulated the participants of the just concluded inclusive national dialogue for their patriotism and that they demonstrated in reclaiming their country from the path of instability. At the ceremony, the head of the transition government thanked President Muhammadu Buhari for the warmth and friendliness he had demonstrated towards the country and sub-region, especially in ensuring peace and stability. He promised to put in place a transition process that will reflect the will of the people while focusing on ameliorating poverty through provision of quality education, better health facilities and sustainable infrastructure. President Muhammadu Buhari returned to Abuja after the ceremony in N'Djamena.
He's promised to deliver on time elections to the country. Then, of course, he's also promised a lot of economic, benefits. Infrastructure was one area he talked at length about. Agriculture was another one, and also to bring the Chadians together. And he talked about a new Chad that they want to see, and he talked about also the mineral wealth of the country, that is a rich country, and that the importance of exploiting the wealth of that country together for the benefit of the country.
Now, away from Nigeria, Ukraine has condemned Russia as a terrorist state for launching missile attacks on major cities, including the capital, Kyiv, at a United Nations General Assembly meeting initially called to discuss Moscow's annexation of 4 partly occupied regions of Ukraine. Russia has proven once again that this is a terrorist state that must be deterred in the strongest possible ways, says Ukraine's ambassador to the UN in his opening remarks. In response, Vasily Nebenzia of Russia did not directly address the missile strikes, but defended his country's annexation of the 4 Ukrainian regions. And that's a wrap on Trust News Update. You can watch more via all our social media platforms and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am Ayuba Ile. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.